Barry, when Aaliyah died for a wrongful death, he got paid $90 million for her death. Am I supposed to say that on TV? Sue me. I ain't got nothing. I was with him on.
What if one tweet could reopen a wound the industry tried to bury? What if one name, Nicki Minaj, was enough to send the entire music world into meltdown? Because that's exactly what happened. The internet couldn't believe it, and honestly, you won't either. It started with a post, then another, then screenshots, old interviews, old photos, old rumors that were supposed to stay in 2001. And suddenly, Aaliyah's name, a name that still feels sacred, was trending for all the wrong reasons. And when Nicki Minaj hinted that there was more to the story, more about the people closest to her, that's when things got uncomfortable. Because now the question wasn't about the crash. It wasn't about the industry. It was about family. If you were in this position, same pressure, same power players, same whispers behind closed doors, what would you do? Protect your child? Protect your reputation? Or protect the business? Bro said too much, and they got him. One viral comment read, but did she really expose anything? Or did she light a match near gasoline? Let's break it all down. And trust me, it gets messier than anyone expected. It started with a post, not a press conference, not a documentary, not a court filing. A post, one of those late night, no warning, no filter social media drops that makes you sit up in bed and say, wait, what? Nicki Minaj, Aaliyah, and a sentence that felt like it had been sitting in the drafts for years. Within minutes, timelines were on fire. Fan pages started screen recording. Blogs started screenshotting. Reaction channels were already uploading before most people even understood what was happening.
A lot of smack. I'm like, age ain't nothing but a number, girl. I'm like, what you trying to say? So immediately I heard the song, and I said, I called her back 15 minutes later, told her, check this out. So we cut the track right then and there.
And for the record, you are how old? That's a secret. Women doesn't disclose her age.
Because when you say Aaliyah's name, people listen. Not just because she was talented, not just because her legacy still feels unfinished, but because her story has always carried a shadow. And Nicki knows exactly how the internet works. She didn't accuse anyone directly. She didn't present documents. She didn't hold a press conference. She asked questions. And sometimes questions are louder than accusations. The moment she referenced what really happened and implied that people around Aaliyah may not have been as protective as they seemed, that was it. The algorithm did the rest. Old interviews resurfaced, clips from the 90s, photos of young Aaliyah surrounded by powerful industry figures. People started replaying moments they hadn't thought about in years. And then came the comment sections. Why was she always around grown men? Who was actually protecting her? Why did certain people benefit financially after her passing? Now pause. Notice something. The conversation shifted. It wasn't about talent. It wasn't about music. It wasn't about legacy. It became about proximity, power, and who knew what and when. Nicki didn't provide proof, but she did something arguably more powerful. She gave people permission to question. And once the public starts questioning, there's no off switch. Because here's the thing, Aaliyah's story has always had layers. She entered the industry young, extremely young, signed, produced, managed, marketed, surrounded by adults with experience, contracts, and influence. And history shows us something uncomfortable about the entertainment industry, especially in the 90s. Boundaries weren't always protected the way they should have been. So when fans look back at old footage, interviews where ages were avoided, relationships that raised eyebrows, adults laughing nervously when questions got too direct, it hits differently now, not because there's new evidence, but because culture has changed. What was normalized then would be interrogated now, and that's where the tension lives. Nicki didn't say, here's what happened. She said essentially, why did this happen? There's a difference, but the internet doesn't always care about the difference. Clips started circulating of family interviews, business dealings, record label contracts, old lawsuits. People zoomed in on details that had been public for years but never analyzed under today's lens. And then someone made a thread. You know the type. 30 tweets long. Screenshots. Arrows. Red circles. Follow the money. That phrase always gets attention. Suddenly, conversations about settlements, contracts, and industry politics were being reframed as suspicious. Not proven, not confirmed, just suspicious. And once suspicion enters a room, it doesn't leave quietly. But here's where it gets tricky. There's a difference between asking questions and rewriting history. There's a difference between accountability and assumption. And Nicki, she thrives in that gray area. Some fans applauded her. She's brave for saying what others won't. Others were furious. Why drag this up now? And then there were the silent observers, the ones who weren't choosing sides, just watching the chaos unfold. Because whether you love Nicki or not, one thing is undeniable. She knows how to control a narrative without ever appearing to try. And suddenly, people weren't just analyzing past. They were analyzing motives. Why now? Why this topic? Was this personal? Strategic? A distraction? Or something deeper? Meanwhile, blogs started reaching out for comments. Industry insiders posted vague, cryptic captions. You don't know the half. That's the kind of sentence that keeps conspiracy culture alive. No details, just implication. And implication spreads faster than facts. But here's what nobody expected. The deeper people dug into old interviews, the more uncomfortable the optics became. Not proof, not evidence. Optics, and optics, in the age of social media, can feel just as powerful, which leads us to the moment everything shifted. Because just when the conversation felt like internet noise, an old clip resurfaced. And that clip, it changed the temperature completely. Even the blogs didn't see coming. Because that old clip, it wasn't new. It had always existed. Buried in daytime TV archives. Old red carpet interviews. Low-resolution YouTube uploads from 2009. But context changes everything. And when the clip resurfaced, it didn't feel nostalgic. It felt uncomfortable. The video showed a young Aaliyah being asked about her age, and the room shifted. Laughter, nervous smiles, a quick deflection, a subject change. Back then, people moved on. Now, people paused, replayed, zoomed in. Why is everyone laughing? One viral comment asked. Why does that look rehearsed? Another added. Again, no new evidence, just a new lens. And that's when the online detectives clocked in. TikTok creators stitched the clip with commentary. Twitter threads dissected body language. YouTube channels added slow motion edits and dramatic music. Because in 2026, perception spreads faster than paperwork. Then came the money conversation, not as a headline, but as a whisper. Someone posted about business agreements surrounding Aaliyah's catalog. Someone else brought up old legal settlements after her tragic passing. And suddenly, timelines were filled with phrases like, who benefited? Who controlled the masters? Who signed what and when? Now let's be clear, business contracts in the music industry are complex. Labels own masters. Executives negotiate rights. Families often step in after tragedy. That's standard. But the internet doesn't deal in standard. It deals in suspicion. And suspicion turned into viral speculation. A now-deleted blog post claimed there were last-minute legal protections signed days before a fatal flight. No documentation attached. No verified source. Just an insider. Because nothing screams credibility like an unnamed insider, right? And still it spread. One tweet read, convenient timing isn't proof, but it's interesting. Interesting. That word does a lot of damage online. Then came the fan reactions. Some defended Aaliyah's family fiercely. Y'all are disgusting for dragging her mother into this. Others pushed back. Stop acting like the industry is innocent. Patterns exist. And then Nicki added fuel. Not fire, fuel. She didn't double down. She didn't clarify. She posted something cryptic. A photo from the 90s. 3 artists in one frame. Ages added in small text. No caption explanation. Just numbers. The internet did the math on its own. Now here's where the tension thickened. Because when you combine a resurfaced clip, financial conversations, and a superstar subtly nudging the audience, you don't get clarity, you get chaos. Blogs began contacting former associates. Old radio interviews were reposted. People revisited stories about industry power dynamics in the late 90s, and the narrative shifted again. This wasn't just about one person. It became about a system. Young artists, older executives, blurred boundaries. But then, another twist. A former background figure, someone who had worked loosely within label circles, posted a video saying, "There's stuff people don't know. I'm not saying nothing, but I'm saying something. You know that tone. Half warning, half promo." Within hours, reaction channels were speculating about what he might mean. No proof, just vibes. But vibes sell. And just when it felt like the narrative was stabilizing, turning into a broader industry conversation instead of family accusation, a financial document screenshot started circulating. Blurry, cropped, lacking context, allegedly showing payout distributions connected to posthumous projects. The key word? Allegedly. No confirmed source verified it. But the damage wasn't in the numbers. It was in the perception. Follow the money, resurface again. Now here's the dangerous part. When grief, nostalgia, and modern outrage mix together, logic becomes optional. People began creating timelines. First this happened, then that interview, then the flight. They connected dots that may not even belong on the same page. And suddenly, what started as a tweet had turned into something much heavier. Not an accusation in court, but a trial on social media. And social media trials don't require evidence. They require engagement. Meanwhile, mainstream outlets stayed cautious. Careful headlines, words like sparked debate, reignited discussions, online speculation. Because legally, that's safer. But culturally, the temperature had already changed. And just when everyone thought the conversation couldn't escalate further, another name entered the chat. Quietly at first, then loudly. And when that name surfaced, the entire narrative shifted again. Because this time, it wasn't just about family. It wasn't just about contracts. It wasn't just about old interviews resurfacing. It was about power. A major industry heavyweight. Someone who had crossed paths with Aaliyah during her rise suddenly became the focus of viral threads. Old photos were reposted. Red carpet clips. Award show interactions. The internet did what it always does. Freeze frame, zoom, speculate, look at the body language. Why was he there? How old was she again? Again, no new facts, just a new storm. Nicki's earlier post suddenly felt like breadcrumbs leading here. Was that intentional? Or was the internet building a maze on its own? Because here's the truth about viral controversy. Once a narrative starts, it evolves without permission. Now fans were divided into camps. One side argued this was overdue scrutiny of how young artists were treated in the 90s. The other side said this was reckless revisionism, reshaping tragedy into conspiracy for clicks. Meanwhile, Aaliyah's name was trending again, and that's where the emotional weight sits. Because beyond the speculation, beyond the tweets, beyond the commentary channels, there was a real person, a daughter, a sister, an artist, and her story ended in a tragedy that still hurts people decades later. But social media doesn't slow down for grief. It accelerates. Reaction videos cross 1 million views overnight. TikTok think pieces gain hundreds of thousands of likes. Some creators try to be responsible. Let's separate confirmed history from online theory. One said. Others? Not so much. If you connect the dots, it's obvious. Another claimed, without actually presenting evidence. And that's when things got uncomfortable, because speculation started bleeding into certainty. Language shifted from maybe to definitely, from questions to exposed. And that's the danger zone. Nicki, for her part, didn't host a live breakdown. She didn't drop receipts. She didn't go on record with a full explanation. Instead, silence. Strategic or coincidental. Silence can be louder than words. Some interpreted it as confidence. She said what she said. Others saw it as chaos unleashed. You lit the match. Now look. Meanwhile, industry insiders reportedly urged caution in private conversations. Blogs hinted at legal lines. Commentary creators started adding disclaimers to their videos. Because here's something people forget. There's a difference between public curiosity and legal accusation. And crossing that line has consequences. As days passed, the frenzy slowly transformed. Less direct blame, more systemic conversation. People started talking about industry safeguards in the 90s, how young artists were managed, power imbalances, cultural shifts and accountability. The tone matured slightly, but the damage, the discomfort, that lingered. Because once you introduce doubt into a legacy, it doesn't disappear, even if it's unproven, even if it's speculative, even if it's born from internet momentum rather than documented fact. And maybe that's the real story here. Not whether someone sold someone, not whether contracts were suspicious, not whether an old clip means more than it did at the time, but how fast we rewrite narratives when emotion meets virality. Nicki didn't present a case file. She presented a spark. The internet built the wildfire. And now we're left with something complicated. A reminder that legacy, power, money, and tragedy don't mix cleanly. And that social media doesn't care about clean. It cares about loud. So what actually changed? No official investigations reopened. No new charges filed. No verified bombshell documents released. But perception shifted. And in 2026, perception is currency. Some fans feel empowered, like overdue conversations are finally happening. Others feel protective, like a sacred name was dragged into algorithm warfare. And somewhere in the middle, silence. No dramatic confession. No final expose. Just noise fading into the next trending topic. But here's the part that stays with you. Aaliyah's music still plays. Her visuals still inspire. Her influence still echoes in today's artists. And while the internet debates timelines and tweets, her legacy remains more than speculation. Because sometimes the loudest scandals create the emptiest conclusions. No confirmed villain, no confirmed conspiracy, just a storm of what-ifs. And maybe that's the twist nobody expected. Not a shocking reveal, not a takedown, just a reminder of how easily stories can bend. She didn't vanish. Her legacy didn't disappear. But the conversation, it changed. And in the age of viral narratives, that might be the most powerful thing of all. So now the question isn't just what Nicki meant. It's why it hit the way it did. Why did one post shake the timeline? Why did old clips suddenly feel new? Why did conversations people avoided for years explode overnight? Was this about protecting a legacy or questioning a system? Was Nicki exposing something deeper? Or did the internet build a mountain out of fragments? Because let's be honest, in today's world, perception moves faster than proof. And once a narrative catches fire, it doesn't ask for permission. Some people believe overdue conversations are finally happening. Others believe a sacred name was dragged into digital chaos. But here's what matters most. You watched, you listened, now it's your turn. If you were in that position, seeing your name trend, watching strangers dissect your past, your family, your legacy, how would you respond? Would you clarify? Would you stay silent? Or would you let the storm burn itself out? Drop your thoughts in the comments, but keep it real. Keep it respectful. This isn't just gossip. It's someone's legacy. And if you think the story ends here, think again. Because the industry never forgets. The internet never sleeps. And one post can always reopen a chapter people thought was closed. Hit that like button if you want deeper breakdowns like this. Subscribe, because when the next twist drops, you already know we'll be here. And trust me, this conversation, it's far from over.